Well, hello and welcome. I am so excited to have a conversation today with Brenda Lawrence. You can just call this Brenda Squared. Brenda Lawrence is the CEO of LFG Technologies LLC, which is a global management and consulting firm that focuses on transforming cultures.
Mm.
Today, we're excited to have a conversation about something that has become so relevant in the professional development space, which is CEO advisory groups, private advisory boards. And I'm so excited for Brenda Lawrence that she is a Vistage chair. And so, welcome, Brenda. First of all, congratulations on your chairpersonship with Vistage. It's so exciting. And I look forward to all the things you have to tell us about the virtues and the values of peer advisory.
Thank you, Brenda. Thanks for having me this morning, and I'm excited to have this conversation with you. Everything, what I would share about Vistage and the partnership that I have with them is really centered around building peer advisory boards. And those boards are comprised of CEOs, there are business owners, founders, and in many cases, key executives. And they come together. They share their most challenging opportunities, the issues that they're experiencing. They get insight and wisdom from each other. And it's really a powerful exchange that really helps them to build peer networks. And that way they can go off, resolve many of the issues that they're encountering on a daily basis.
Now, we're talking about diverse groups, right? So, you're cutting across sectors and industries and disciplines. Is that correct?
That is correct. All non-competing industries. The beauty of it is you have, fresh perspectives from leaders in technology, in the education space, health, real estate, um, industries across the board.
Great. So, in that context, what do you find is the most important issue that leaders are facing?
Well, I mean, as you know, there are many, many issues that leaders are facing. A lot of the conversations that I'm having with CEOs in particular are centered around labor shortage. We're all grappling with that and thinking through, how do we get the right talent in place? How are we focused on, strategic alignment, talking about conversations around culture and building and developing leaders. And we all know that, if you're thinking through growth, you have to have leaders in place that are going to be able to support you. So we're having a lot of really good confidential conversations to support the growth and awareness.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about the structure, how often you come together, where people convene?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We meet once a month. So we come together, we connect, we meet once a month in half-day sessions. I get the opportunity to facilitate a small business group. So we typically will come together, break bread, have lunch, and have a very structured meeting that is focused on the now challenges, those challenges that are top of mind.
And what would you say is most important if I'm a member of the group? How do I get the most out of my experience?
hmm I love that. And I always say for me, everything is about, coming together, being fully present and committed to the process and listening, being open to hearing from others, gaining diverse perspectives, gaining clarity. And a lot of times, I hear people consistently say, wow, I hadn't thought of that. And the diversity of the group supports, many, many different ideas that you can walk away, implement right away. We have, as I mentioned, a very structured meeting. So, when we do something that I call the secret sauce of Vistage, and it is opportunity processing,
Okay.
and we share significant events. And as a part of that, we will literally deep dive those issues and provide based on our experiences, our the wisdom that we bring to the group, and in many cases it's hundreds of years of experience, right? So we share the insight and provide recommendations based on what we heard and based on our experiences, and those leaders are able to take action on and implement the strategies right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we're calling this like minds, safe spaces.
Mhm.
What is the importance of safety?
For me, it is essential. It is everything. And, I always say being in an atmosphere that one will support you being free and authentic, being able to share without concern of, internal politics or what is going on, but really a private space where you can, share, here's what I'm experiencing in business and in life. Here's how I'm experiencing it, and gain that insight from others, where you feel that, it's non-judgmental, and it literally is about being free, being able to say, yes, this is it, and being supported in that environment.
Yeah.
Total authenticity, total transparency.
And I would imagine the people in your group, they're not replicated in their organizations, right? There's only one. And so there really isn't a peer in their immediate.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. And yes, as I mentioned, it's non-competing industries from different perspectives and areas, but no one person. It's only one person from each industry. That if that makes sense. So
Yeah,
yeah, no
yeah,
competition there.
yeah, yeah. So now I'm going to get personal, Brenda. What
Mm.
brings you to this work? Why do you do this?
You know what? I love that question, Brenda. And here it is. For me, honestly, I feel like I get to do my life work. And the reason it's important to me, and as you mentioned, being in that CEO role, we all, we understand what it feels like to be lonely at the top. And a lot of the conversation is isolation relief, and being able to have a space where, there is no concern for, what anyone else is thinking, that close to the situation. And you can gain perspective. Like I said, many of us have had very similar experiences. So to be able to say, yes, here's what I recommend, and here's how it worked for me. It was either, a learning opportunity, or it was successful. And that is powerful. I always look for, you know, where we can add the value.
And so when you think about the group that is currently convened, how would you
Mhm.
describe the culture of the group? And well, let's start with that. How would you describe the culture of the group?
The culture of the group, we're made up of, and I always, I say open minded leaders who understand the importance at all levels, understand the importance of continuous learning.
Hmm.
They understand why it is to, hear from various perspectives. They understand, what it feels like to get fresh ideas, in many cases, ideas and things that you had not even considered or thought about come to the surface. And the beauty of these conversations is a deep dive. So you literally have an opportunity. Most times you're thinking it's one thing, right? And then you find out through very powerful questions, and really a lot of questions from the group, that it really isn't that issue. There's an underlying thing. And so we are able in that safe space to have the underlying conversations and hold each other accountable. We challenge each other. So the culture it is about being in a space where you feel like you can learn and grow from others. There's no ego. It is all everyone being extremely supportive of each other, and helping us to move the business forward.
So they are able to check some things at the door, it sounds like, and really create a unique space
A
together,
very
co-create a unique space together.
co-create a unique space together, Brenda. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So who is an ideal member? Is it a revenue number? Is it the number of FTEs, years in business? Tell me about the profile.
Sure, sure. So membership criteria, it is all of that. So we basically, as I mentioned, is non-competing, but the revenue range typically is from 2 million to 10 million. And for CEOs with the revenue range 2 million to 10 million, we look for leaders who are, they have FTEs as many as 1 to 9, up to 50, maybe even 60 FTEs, but it varies. And we look; it's a holistic look at an individual. Can we gain insight from them? Can they gain insight from us? So it's really about a mutual fit. So we go through a process of interviews and conversations. We will select them, and in many cases, I will select them based on whether or not feel like they're a good fit for the group, and just really try to hold a space for the CEOs to make sure that everyone is able to collaborate and grow together. So for me, that is a sacred space, and I want to make sure one that I honor that.
Yeah, and maintaining that, I'm sure at times can be a challenge.
You know what? Here's the thing, and what I'm learning is, and oftentimes it is about having the right people in the right seats. We have those conversations all the time, right? So if the value is there, the members want to stay there, and on average, members stay with Vistage, 7 to 8 years. So the longevity, the value that they gain, it supports them wanting to stay and included in the group. And again, as I mentioned, we talk about continuous learning. As long as the value is there, the continuous learning is there, the members are there.
Yeah. So on that topic of continuous learning, are your sessions typically facilitated? Do you facilitate, or do members facilitate? Do you have guest facilitators? What does that look like?
So I facilitate the meetings. I am what's known as a Vistage chair. So I host and have the facilitation of the meetings. 4 times a year, we will have a speaker, world-class speaker come in. We'll facilitate workshops for us. We'll do retreats together. But for the most parts, the meetings are facilitated by me, and we'll have host presentations by each of the CEOs.
Okay, so that's kind of the term that comes to mind is member spotlight or something like that. So if they're hosting, they can.
They lead the group. So basically, me serving as the chair is the facilitation of it, but the group is for the CEOs, right? And so they have an opportunity where they are connecting and collaborating with each other. It's a very structured meeting, but the collaboration is for the group to have, and I just help to facilitate those conversations.
Okay. Do you find that as members get to know each other, they begin to connect outside of the monthly meetings?
We absolutely support that. We encourage it. Yes, so that's the purpose for the retreats, and then also, we have, I don't want to say a buddy system, but we will assign CEOs to CEO together and encourage them to have off settings or off conversations where they can explore more, share more insight, and support each other even more.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So as you look out over the runway, there's so much, as you said, to focus on. Many people are focused on talent and resources and things like that.
Mhm.
What do you see as some of the hot topics, if you will, things that you want to bring to your advisory group to pull apart?
Yeah. You well, for me, what is really important right now is what's important to the CEOs, right? And so the conversations really, again, are around strategy alignment and culture, uh, thinking through labor shortage, isolation relief, which is why that environment being, so important for safety to make sure that, we're able to collaborate with each other and learn from each other. So the conversations and the focus would be literally topics that are most important to our members.
Yeah, yeah, and that's ever changing, I'm sure,
It
because
is all
fluid.
yes.
Oh my goodness. As we emerge, at least we think we're emerging, right, from this state that we've been in with the pandemic. So many challenges, although that may appear to be the same or similar or just so different than we knew them to be.
And that's yeah, and that's the good thing too is it provides an opportunity for us to look at the new normal, and to think through change because that's what this really is about. The change management process of this and helping people understand what this looks like and being able to communicate our vision such that people are buying into what it is that we're selling and they want to be a part of something significant and also aligning with values, understanding what behaviors are in place that create the culture that we experience on a daily basis. So ensuring that that is good and making sure everybody's aligned and on the same page. It's a lot of work. So
It is a lot of work, and I applaud you for taking that on, especially in the times that we're in. Do you find that there are people who are resistant to changes, or is everyone pretty much there because they recognize the need and the necessity to do things differently, to take a different approach?
Yeah, the latter, and absolutely, yes, they understand the importance of continuous learning and being open. Things have changed so much so now and shifted in a way that we have to be creative and we have to think of new ways of doing things and reaching our people. We have members who have teams, in England, in just different various locations. And because most people are working remote, there lends an opportunity. Yes, we have to be creative, but how we keep the culture motivated, vibrant, and help to keep people engaged.
Yeah, yeah. And so when you think about some of the big ahas, I don't want you to break a confidence or the trust of the group or anything, but if you can think about, one or two significant takeaways, how would you describe them? Or how would you describe the impact potentially they would have had on your members or their organizations?
I would say being in an environment, one, which is a rarity, where you can have a space where you can lay things on the table and say, here's where I am and what I'm doing, and gain that clarity of mind where you can really think through what is next and what's making a difference. And in many cases, if you come in and you shy away a little bit, and we began to engage you, to see someone say, what, not at all what I expected. I cannot imagine now being without a group like this. For me, that is a aha, because clearly you feel like, oh, this is working. Something is going right, and there's huge impact, and it's making a difference. And that for me is everything. And so
It's
I
almost developing.
Mhm. Absolutely. Just, and really finding purpose and thinking through, especially now with so much of an experience where we've lost quite a bit, and thinking through what really matters and staying focused on what really matters. I find that, being in a group setting like this really does help you to keep that temperament, stay focused on the things that are critical for you so that you can grow in all stages of your business growth.
Yeah. You used a really important word that I'm hearing more and more, and that's purpose, right? People are really paying more attention to their why, and really being intentional about not wasting time, not wasting resources, and making sure that there is meaning behind everything that they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Would-
So important. We have those conversations often. A lot of times, you have, and for example, one person recently was sharing, saying, "Hey, I feel like I'm checking things off, but I really want to sit in a space where I feel like my why is clear and is clear to everyone that I'm connecting with, and I'm able to serve, and so I want to be intentionally focused there." And figuring out, I had a dream, and am I able to achieve that in this time, since things have changed so much. And so, recalibrating, rethinking, what next looks like is important.
yeah. Recalibrating. I think that that's the perfect term, because maybe that's less formidable to people than change, right? Which frightens so many people. But
Hmm.
just making adjustments, you know,
As you, and being adaptable,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and that's why, I always say the adaptability is extremely important now, but being able to sit and be present, and if you need to shift, pivot, shift, do what is necessary, but try to stay connected and try to figure out new ways of thinking through things, and that's what this group brings to our leaders.
yeah, yeah. No, that adaptability is so important. And you see, I'm being careful with the language I use because I find that just very benign terms seem to result in conflict,
Mm,
all of a sudden, unnecessarily sometimes. It's interesting. But it's that resistance to being adaptable and to change, and just, seeing it almost as as a threat. I don't know. It's interesting. TBD. But it's interesting to hear you talk about this. And it sounds like, by bringing this group together, it's almost like a support system.
Oh, it absolutely is a support
Yeah,
system.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm. So
I
change, yep, change is inevitable.
Yeah, I know that for a number of years I facilitated a similar group for chief operating officers under the COO forum, and there were times that we wouldn't necessarily have a business problem to address, but they just wanted to be together. They
Yep.
just wanted to come together and to have that support and solace in some cases. So
Yes, yeah, and so that's why I was saying, like looking at the whole person, right? So when we check in for significant events, we're talking about, where are you professionally? Where are you personally? What significant events are going on that you need to address, or are there any that you're avoiding? And so we have those conversations, but it definitely is about the whole person,
yeah,
and creating a space where we talk about, what's happening at work and what's happening in our lives.
yeah, yeah. So the group that you are chairing is in the Washington metropolitan area. And I thought of it initially more in terms of a Maryland based group, but I was surprised when
Mhm.
you shared with me last week that it's really DMV. So can you talk a little bit more about the expanse?
Yeah, I would love to. I get to sit with some phenomenal leaders in the Virginia and Maryland areas right now. We haven't added a CEO from Washington yet.
Okay,
However, right now, Northern Virginia on through Maryland, Columbia, as far as Columbia. So yes, around the Washington D.C. area.
that's good. That's good. And do you
Mhm.
think that regional familiarity is important?
I do. So what I also, when I would say, I said Northern Virginia, but recently we've had conversations out 2 hours, like Tappahannock. So on through Virginia and Maryland. But I definitely believe that it is important because a lot of us here in the Washington D.C. area, we are providing work in the federal space, and so to have those similar experiences, or to be able to share insight based on what's going on geographically here, is important, matters.
Yeah, federal familiarity, I call that. Yeah,
Federal familiarity.
yeah,
Good. So both public and private sectors. So
yeah, yeah. Because eventually, even if we're not directly working with the government or government contractors, it trickles down. Yeah, there's a lot of connectivity there. Well,
mhm.
that's wonderful. And I'm excited for you. And I'm certainly excited for the members who get to work with you primarily and then to work with each other to support each other at such a critical time in professional development, honestly. We all have to take a step back and rethink what we've done in contrast to with what we need to do
Mhm.
to to thrive as we move forward. So,
Absolutely, Brenda.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
I,
yeah. What else is important for us to know about the group, how we get to you? It's for more information about the group before we close.
Well, as I mentioned, if you're a CEO who's open-minded, who's strategically focused on business growth and thinking through what is next, and respectful of fresh perspective, new ideas, and you want to be with like-minded leaders in a safe space where you can, share your big goals or opportunities that exist for you. Reach out to me. My contact information, I'll share my email. It's brenda.lawrence@vistagecare.org. And I'd be happy to connect with you, talk with you, and see if there's a mutual fit.
That's great, and we will be sharing that information also at the end of the recorded message. So we will make sure that everybody has access to that. So thank you so much, Brenda, for taking the time to help us learn more about Vistage, help us learn more about you and the advantages of being part of a peer advisory group. Appreciate
Thank
it very
you.
much.
I have appreciated the conversation, Brenda. Thank you.
You're welcome.